So I have been thinking a lot about foundations and foundations in a lot of different senses of the world of the word. When I think about a foundation in terms of this house that we built, we really made sure that the foundation, the structure that we were building was really concrete, pun intended. For those of you who don't know, we used a type of construction called ICF, insulated concrete forms. So our walls are actually up to 9 feet, made out of 6 inches of concrete. Like you can try and blast a cannonball through these walls and it's not going to fall. And that was really important to us because we looked at the traditional methods that stick build construction had, and it just didn't make sense with what we were trying to build. We were trying to make a really sustainable building where we had excellent heat and cold retention, whereas traditional stick build construction really allows for that heat loss. So that was very important to us, and we wanted to make sure that we had a watertight foundation. So our footings are down to 5 or 6 feet, again, made out of concrete. And we don't have a basement because we didn't want to build a basement and keep water out of it like so many people do. So that type of construction was really important to us. And we really spent a lot of time costing out both options to make sure that this was the best option. And now, a couple of years later into this house and living in it, like we are noticing that it does retain the heat really well in the wintertime and it does retain the cold in the summertime. And we aren't worried about leaks and we aren't worried about any kind of rodents making their way in because of the type of construction. And that gives us peace of mind for everything else that we want to do. We have such a solid foundation. Now, the same can be applied to other areas of our lives. And that's where like this method of construction that we used for our house has kind of bled into my life, my personal life, my business, etc. And here's what I mean by that. When I think of myself and how I was living 2020 and earlier, the foundation was incredibly shaky. I didn't have health. I didn't have security. I didn't have the necessary foundations that made me feel really strong, really capable, really resourced. My foundation was literally built on a house of cards. I didn't care about what I put into my body as far as alcohol or food was concerned. Yes, I would have concerted efforts in certain areas where I would make sure I was eating salads for a week, but I really didn't care. Didn't care about literally building good foundation and systems with the food that I was consuming or any kind of vitamins and minerals and things like that. I just didn't care. I wasn't even drinking enough water, I think, to sustain life. I was barely getting enough in. And I think that we can all agree that drinking 8 glasses of water is really, really hard, especially when that isn't the focus of your life. 8 glasses of beer, a couple bottles of wine, a couple pops, no problem. But water, please, that's really hard. And I certainly wasn't caring about how I moved my body and how I treated it. I would do short spurts of working out. Maybe it's a challenge that I downloaded off the internet. Maybe it's a gym that I joined for a month and I went really, really hard and then I would fall off the wagon. And it's no wonder that I felt low energy, off, sluggish, sick all the time because I wasn't taking care of my body. My foundation was severely diminished. And so I couldn't possibly have the energy, the motivation, the will to do anything else that I really wanted to do because I'm already behind the 8 ball. My foundation sucked. Now, because I have spent a lot of time. I've looked into and researched and found the best ways to make sure that I have a foundation that's really, really strong. And because I have this foundation, I have energy, I have motivation, I have an inherent will to make sure that I am taking care of myself in the best possible way. And that goes across mind, body, spirit. So when it comes to the body, I make sure that I'm eating nutritious foods at least 90% of the time. Is it perfect? No. Do I love ice cream? Absolutely. If I had a pizza in front of me, would I eat majority of it? Yes. It's just not all the time anymore. Old me was ordering pizza every other night. This me is ordering pizza as a treat once a month, maybe, to take a break off cooking. And that doesn't put me behind. I prioritize having protein. I prioritize having consistent nutrition in my body. I'm actually eating 3 meals a day and eating really good snacks in between. Versus before, when I would be maybe getting a bagel from Tim Hortons and a coffee, and then I would go to a restaurant for lunch. Absolutely, there was always alcohol involved. And then at night, kind of mailing it in, whatever was easiest for me to consume. Now, the thing about the foundation that I've created, that makes me want to eat nutritiously and whole, it takes time. It takes effort. But it also takes time and effort to feel like shit by not eating the proper foods. Do you know what I mean? Like, I now value and will prioritize making sure that I am fed and feel good, and I will do what it takes. If I come home and it's been a busy day, maybe I've had to go into the city for work, maybe I've had a couple, client sessions, maybe it's just been like a really heavy week energetically as far as taking care of my clients. And sometimes I won't feel like cooking, but I will still make something nutritious because I know that will benefit me. I know that things will get harder for me if I don't do that thing. And to me, it's more important to push myself a little bit and cook that meal, cook that chicken and veg, or cook the steak instead of not eating like I used to do before. If I'm too tired and I didn't want to do anything, I just wouldn't eat. Like, that is not a way to take care of you or take care of yourself. And so I will prioritize those things because my value system firmly rests in making sure I'm making healthful, nutritious decisions. I will drink my water every day. I do not drink alcohol. That was getting me nowhere. That was literally working against myself, wondering why I didn't have the energy to do things because I was exhausted, because even a little bit of alcohol was putting me behind. And that foundational system, just as far as my body is concerned, helps me do all the things that I want to. And I don't do them begrudgingly, and I don't do them half-assed. I'm able to go full in, fully deliberate, because my body feels good. So I prioritize nutrition, I prioritize water intake. Now, when it comes to body and my energetic system, again, I'm making sure that I take care of that. I tap. I do somatic tapping, like on my chest or wherever that might be. I do breath work every single day. I do meditation every single day so that I can make sure that my energetic system is moving freely. Now, when I talk to people about tapping or breath work, I often mention to them that our system is made up of all these electrical components. And when we experience stress or trauma and tension, right? Like if your shoulders are up against your ears and your stomach is tight, your jaw is clenched, whatever that kind of manifests in your body as, now your energy is not flowing as freely as possible. You have little beaver dams that have built, little beavers that have built dams everywhere. And so what the tapping and breath work does is help to clear that so that your energy, your life force, as they call it, your chi, is actually moving freely. And when you're not working against your system, when you're not carrying stress and tension, you're actually able to make better decisions, more informed, rational, objectively based decisions. You're not reacting emotionally, you're not reacting out of exhaustion. Your body feels good, and that influences the kind of responses that you have. And so I prioritize those things. I don't leave the house unless I've been able to take my time to breathe. Do I spend hours doing this? Absolutely not, because I don't have time for that. I run my own business. I work part-time. I have a property that needs taken care of. I have 2 dogs that need my attention. I have a community that I am interim director of. I do not have time for super long, lengthy practices. So everything that I do is designed to be efficient and maximum benefit. And as I said, I'll prioritize that. So if I have to be on site or I have to be somewhere at 7 a.m., you best believe that I'm going to be waking up earlier so that I can make sure that I start my day on a foundation that is strong and concrete. Because when I don't do it, everything is off kilter. I don't feel like, it's like not brushing your teeth or you've left the flat iron on. Like you just feel like something is running in the background and you're just not yourself. Like that's how I am. So I make sure I prioritize those things as part of my foundation. Now, as far as my mind and spirit is concerned, those two get priority. Before, I would not give myself time to consider things and how they've impacted me. I would be overwhelmed by stuff. I would be overwhelmed by all the things that I felt like I needed to do, all the situations that I've inserted myself into, and I would just stuff it all down. I'm not going to deal with it because either I didn't have time to, because it would mean it would be hard and I'd have to process it, and maybe there's crying and maybe there's sad feelings and I didn't want to go there, or maybe I didn't know what to do. Because to be honest, we're not taught how to fucking deal with our emotions. So now I give time and space for that processing. I give myself credit for when things are hard or the things that I've been through that have felt hard. I don't stuff it down to deal with another day that typically never comes. I try and deal with it as soon as I can in the moment. And maybe that's not right away, but maybe it's time at night where I can decompress, and I'll use journaling with breath work to process what has happened. I give myself time and space and permission to acknowledge that things are hard or felt difficult. A lot of the women that come to me and work with me, I find a very common theme that they feel so resentful because they're doing all the things for everybody. They're feeling a certain kind of way. They're feeling ignored or hard done by, whatever that is. And nobody is seeing that. And they desperately want somebody to be like, wow, look at all the things that you're doing. You're doing such a good job. But if you're not even doing that for yourself, how can you expect anybody else to? And trust me, it hits and lands a lot differently when you're able to acknowledge what you do and what you've been through yourself. And then everything else on top of that is like a cherry. And it's part of self-sourcing, as my mentors had taught me what that is. Like, you are able to not be driven by always needing external validation to say, like, atta girl, you're doing a good job, you're you're doing the hard things. And we see that because people either don't have the time or capacity or wherewithal to actually do that. So I give myself space, because if I'm building my day, my life on a foundation that is weak, that is compromised, that is full of resentment and open loops of old stress and old trauma, that is running an iOS program in the background and is impacting how I'm going forward. There's no possible way that you can go forward into something when you have this like monkey on your back that's weighing you down. You can't build the foundation for the life that you want when you have all this shit that's interfering. And I've talked about it in past episodes, this emotional backlog, especially when we have now stopped drinking and we're no longer numbing and avoiding our problems and our like the dense feelings. That all comes up and we have to alchemize it and release it so we can move forward, so we can continue building. And so taking care of my mind in those capacities is very important. And I, again, will prioritize that versus, you know what, I'm not going to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. I don't know how. I don't want to. It's hard. It's too much, too uncomfortable. Similar to the eating thing, like it's hard to not take care of yourself and eat nutritious things that gives you energy or doesn't give you energy. It's equally as hard to carry the things that you're not acknowledging. It becomes a weight that will end up feeling impossible to keep carrying. And then what that does, it starts to impact your relationships with other people. You start to break down. You start to get more snippy. You start to get frustrated. The resentment between you and your kids or you and your partner or you and your work gets even more strained and prominent because you're not dealing with yourself first. My mentor taught me years ago, you have problems where you're at, you have problems where you're going to go. You get to choose the level of the problems that you have and which problems are actually inviting you and calling you into your next level. Now, the foundation as far as like spirit is concerned, I really didn't give enough or any time to anything that was greater than myself. I would roll my eyes if people talked about God. I would think that people manifesting was just talking a bunch of bullshit and blowing smoke up their ass, to be perfectly honest. Now I recognize that believing in something greater, and it doesn't have to be God, and I'm not saying that like I'm born again or anything, whether it's God or universe or source, Gus as they call it, I believe that there's something greater. There's something that's guiding me. There's been too many serendipitous, can't explain it moments in my life that makes me believe that there's something greater than myself. And I also don't have the ego that I used to have, where I did think that it was me orchestrating everything and everything just kind of happened. Yes, I do believe in something greater than myself. But yes, I also make aligned action. I take that, I look at the opportunities, I give thanks for everything that has happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything that will be coming my way. I give thanks and I have gratitude for that. And I give thanks to myself, yes, but I give thanks to the greater thing, once again, whatever you believe in, that has got me to that. And when I have that foundation of belief, it then continues to open doors. I don't have to be living in fear that it's all on me. Like, that's exhausting and isolating to think that like all of the things that have happened in the past and all the things that are going to happen is just a byproduct of me. That is hard. And when you open yourself up to the possibility that there's something a little bit greater than yourself, it makes it a lot easier. It makes a stronger foundation for which you can stand on. So that's as it relates to like my personal life. As it relates to my business, same thing. Now, I think that a lot of people, especially in the spiritual community, they want to be these light workers, as they call them, these healing entities They want to be a yoga teacher. They want to be a holistic nutritionist. They want to be a Reiki practitioner. Maybe they want to be a breathwork coach, whatever, or a coach of others, some other means. And I think that oftentimes they are lacking in the foundation to build a business that's actually self-driving, that actually feels good, that actually informs your decisions. So I actually spend time in making sure, just like I'm a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, I sit down to look at what my mission, my vision, my purpose is. I map out my goals. I look at metrics of my business every single month, because when you don't do that, you have a hobby. You're just doing something, and hey, great, maybe somebody pays you every once in a while, but and it's not just about posting on Instagram, which I thought at the beginning of my entrepreneurial career. It's about making concerted effort to build your business on a foundation that will propel you forward. Because if you don't have that, if you don't know what you're doing, who you're serving, what your purpose is, and how you do that and how you deliver it, if you're not looking at how you can improve how you're delivering and to who you're delivering, if you're not asking for feedback, if you're not implementing that feedback, then what are we doing? You are, again, just, you have a hobby that sometimes you get paid for, which is great. And if that's what you want to do, cool. But for anybody who's listening to this, who is an entrepreneur, they've maybe started their business, I really recommend figuring out what your vision, mission, and purpose is. And that can shift. The one that I've created, 5 or 6 years ago is different from what it is today, because I've followed the ebbs and flows of my business. I've been able to grow it where who I serve is different, how I serve them is different. The systems that I put in place so that I can check in on my business and see how that is. But all of that is built on a foundation. And that starts with your vision and your mission and your purpose. And then I allow that to be my guiding force. So, foundations. We talk about the foundational things, and to build a foundation in yourself, in your business, in your life requires effort, and it requires you just looking into things and figuring out the systems and how you can implement what's going to turn up the needle, move the needle, what's going to move the needle forward in your life. And so if you are listening to this and you're like, okay, I really need to kind of think about the foundation that I'm building, I encourage you to reach out. That is absolutely my sweet spot. I went from zero foundation to a concrete foundation in the practices that I do. And now I am able to zero in, this is my zone of genius. I can zero in and help you develop this foundation of self and in your rituals, whether it's in your personal life or in your business life, so that you can continue building. But if you don't start there, you're building on a house of cards, and eventually it's going to fall. So if you want to send me a message, let me know what kind of foundation you're looking for. I can absolutely point you in the right direction. I have lots of opportunities to work with me. You can start with a personal power map. So I can, you fill out a short questionnaire and I review that, and I look at where you're getting blocked, and I'm going to look at what your power moves are that you don't see for yourself because you're too close. I'm able to zoom out and see what that perspective is and kind of give you a really good stepping stone of what the next best steps are for you to take. And that's all in the personal power map. I'll link it in the show notes. And that's it. That's what I have to say about foundations. So if you have liked this episode, it's really, really helpful for me for you to share with your friends, follow on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, whatever you're listening to this on. Please follow, leave a review, send me a message. Love to hear from you. And in the meantime, breathe it in, be deliberate, and please be good to yourself.